biggest thing I learned when we got engaged and when we were planning our wedding was how much our clients and couples experience before they even pick up the phone to call us. By the time it got time to actually think about our vendors, I was exhausted. I was frustrated. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much our clients go through before they even really think about hiring a photographer. And we had experienced so much poor customer service in that process. It still blows my mind. It's so commonplace in our industry. People just don't get back to you. There really is a beginning. And even before that, we're courting and we are building relationships with our potential clients long before they pick up the phone to call us. But then I would hope that the experience they have with us does feel remarkably different than anything else they've experienced in planning.
It does, by far.
Hi, my name is Andrea, and besides of being recently married, I own the leading company in bouquet preservation in the world. It is when connecting with my clients that I felt the need to serve them and help them navigate this new and exciting journey. On this podcast, we bring you everything you need to know to plan the wedding of your dreams. We'll be featuring conversations with top wedding vendors and valuable tips and advice from real couples. Whether you're engaged or simply love, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and let's get started on this journey to your perfect wedding day. Welcome to the club, to Bridal Club. My husband and I were extremely lucky to be able to hire a photographer whose work we had admired for a very, very long time. And I am truly honored to be able to have him here today as a guest on Bridal Club. So help me welcome John with John Cain Photography to this episode.
Welcome back to Bridal Club. I would argue that photographers are one of the most important vendors for your wedding. If you're cutting corners here and there, it should not be your photographer. And I can tell you this by experience. John, thank you so much for being here today and explaining everything about your beautiful photos, but then also the experience that I want to talk to you about.
I must say, I need everyone to know I did not pay her to say that, but wow, what a compliment.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for coming.
Absolutely. Why don't you tell our audience who you are and everything about your journey?
Sure. Hi, my name is John Cain. I'm a photographer based here in Dallas, Texas. But I think the biggest thing that I would love for anyone who sees us to know is that what makes us different is that I'm not a one-man show. There are actually 18 of us here who each focus on and create a totally different experience than I think any one person is capable of providing.
I'm not saying this because I'm in front of you. The experience throughout the entire process from inquiring to my wedding album was top-notch and honestly unmatched by anything I've experienced. So thank you for making me feel so special. I was genuinely so sad when I received my wedding album. The wedding album was amazing. I do want to mention that. The embossing, the velvet feel and look of every single page was stunning. But I knew it was the last piece of the puzzle from being a John Cain photography bride. And I was so sad for it to be over.
Not to force you into the next life stage too soon, but it doesn't have to end there. Down the road, we'd love to hear back from y'all when family changes and when it grows. And the coolest thing about weddings and what I love about them is that we meet a family, we get to know a family, and we get to start that journey with a new couple forming their own family as life goes on.
I'll, of course, hire you when that moment comes because I can't wait. When it comes to your photography, your product and photos speak for themselves. They're absolutely stunning. One of the reasons why I hired you was because of that. I can't remember if I told you this or not, but I had already hired another photographer before hiring you. Did I tell you this?
I don't think so.
And I was having regrets. I had already paid a deposit, which I lost. But I was having regrets because I had admired your work for a very long time. And then I reached out and I was absolutely sold. There was no turning back at that point. So again, even though I lost my deposit and of course I hired you and invested with you, it was still worth every penny, like your clients say. It truly was.
Thank you.
So from your own words, why don't you tell our audience what it's like to work with you from start to finish?
Oh, gosh. As much as there are things that are super similar between weddings, one of my favorite analogies for weddings is their homes. Objectively, every home has, I think it's safe to say, a kitchen, a bedroom, a living room, but everyone's homes are laid out differently, designed differently. They prioritize the use of those spaces differently. You might have some families that are grounded and centered in the kitchen, and then you might have other families that love to go out to eat, but their living room is home base. With weddings, there are similar rituals and there are similar moments that happen, but you have to approach each one uniquely, specifically, because you could have two couples, for instance, that both say photography is the most important thing to them or one of the most important things. And that means wildly different things to different people. But also the biggest thing I learned when we got engaged and when we were planning our wedding was how much our clients and couples experience before they even pick up the phone to call us. I think by the time it took us 8 weeks just to get a date. We didn't know whether we were doing a local wedding or a destination wedding. And by the time it got time to actually think about our vendors, because we solidified our guest list, had an idea of our desired guest count, where we were pretty much leaning towards and planning, I was exhausted. I was frustrated. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much our clients go through before they even really think about hiring a photographer. And we had experienced so much poor customer service in that process. Like, it still blows my mind anyone in our industry who would get a phone call from someone saying, hey, like, I think I might want to hire you. We might want to sign your contract. We might want to pay you a pretty big deposit. Can you imagine that type of phone call and then it not going responded to for a week?
Yes.
It blows my mind that people are saying, I might want to give you money. And yet it's so commonplace in our industry. People just don't get back to you.
Yeah.
So I think a big insight that I had even in our planning process was there really is a beginning. And even before that, we're courting and we are building relationships with our potential clients long before they pick up the phone to call us. But then I would hope that the experience they have with us does feel remarkably different than anything else they've experienced in planning.
It does, by far.
It's intentional. We work really hard at it. I had a phone call yesterday where they called the studio. Lacey, our studio manager, picked up the phone and answered it. Because Liz was here to be able to receive it, they were able to figure out where on the calendar. And within 3 hours, the fact that Liz and I are on the phone together with a potential client is only because of the fact that they weren't relying on my inbox. You'd probably have a lot easier time getting a hold of our team than me specifically. And if my clients were dependent on me, they would not be having.
I love that. I love that you said that, and it's so true. I like to say that as well when it comes to hiring a team, because you really are relying on one single person. What happens if that person is sick the wedding day?
Oh my gosh. And that's the most basic level of insurance, more or less. Is like, how are we going to take care of you? Worst case scenario. I've literally been working with a videographer before who tripped in the parking lot and broke an ankle.
Oh my gosh.
On wedding day. Yeah, there are any number of contingency things, but I could then speak to, I think most people only think about the photographer as the person who shows up with a camera, takes pictures, edits them, puts them in an online gallery and clicks send. Because that's just what we're so conditioned to this day and age with digital media. And there's so much that gets lost after that, even on the most basic level of someone getting their gallery back and mom likes one picture better, but the daughter's like, I look better in, image 888. And we can retouch that for them so they're both happy. And there's so many things that happen after the wedding is over, beyond just taking pictures. And also, selfishly, I'm biased, but like, there is something about seeing our work on walls and knowing that decades from now, there are going to be kids that just see this image of their parents and they're like, wow, my parents looked good. They looked cool. They looked, I grew up with my mother's bridal portrait hanging on their wall in their bedroom. And for me, that's a huge point of inspiration because it's still there 40 years later. Yeah. And it's an iconic image of my mom to me. And I know that even now, my daughter looks at that picture and granted, obviously, photograph wedding. So my kids are very exposed to the wedding industry.
For sure.
So maybe not every little girl is looking at their grandmother's bridal portrait, but my daughter is, and it means a lot to her. And when she dressed up as Halloween as a bride, she's 8 now. But this was kindergarten, so 6.
That's awesome.
It was sweet. Basically, we try to reach our clients at every point of their possible experience with us. Hopefully, in order to create such a meaningful relationship with them that, you do get the wedding blues when it's over because you spend a year or more sometimes planning and it's your sole focus. And then thankfully you at least get to go on a honeymoon afterwards. So you can kind of like wean off of it a little bit, but then you get back, it's like, wait, there was so much time that I was spending doing this.
Right.
And you feel like it's over, which is why like what we do here in this room for us is even so cathartic with our clients because you actually get to relive it in a very personal, experiential way, not just clicking buttons on a computer. I'm like, oh yeah, that was when you're in a gallery, you're swiping so quickly or you're clicking so quickly and it's image. But when we're in here, it's like we get to pull up all of the photos and really appreciate them
I always knew that I wanted a wedding album. It wasn't until when I saw it here, as you said, that truly the experience, I was like, oh my God, I just want to add more and more and more photos to it. And it's right now at my studio, and I absolutely love looking at it.
Yeah, that's also where we come into play as experts in the editing process, not in the images are already edited for color and quality when you receive the digital files. But I mean that from the what do we keep? What do we take away? How do you get this online gallery of 2,000 images down to what actually tells the story visually of the day from beginning to end? But we only have, 50 pages that we can use, and there are 2,000 photos. So how do we do that the best way possible? Yeah, that's where we step in afterwards.
And I love that the fact that I feel like I had so much input in that album that I designed it with your team too.
Thank you for saying that, because that's also something that you can imagine. We talk to a lot of different brides and moms that are in the planning process, and some after the fact that they've already had a sister or another daughter get married before. And we hear their pain points or like what they experienced from the first time and what they're wanting to do differently this time. And like Katie on our team even had hired a different photographer. She got married several years before she came and worked here. Didn't even know what was possible or what was out there. But her photographer's version of doing albums was shipped her an album 6 months after the wedding that she had no clue what pictures were in it.
What?
It was the photographer saying, this is my artwork that you've commissioned.
Wow.
And I'm sending you my version of your wedding. That's how art functions in a lot of other ways, in a lot of other places. But we really prioritize service first, artwork second.
Wow.
And so Katie, it was probably the easiest personal experience she could use with our clients, where she goes, I didn't even get to choose what pictures I liked.
Wow.
Before I got an album that I didn't even realize that I paid for, because it came in that package that I bought over a year ago when I hired them.
Oh, wow.
But then I got the album back, and instead of this like excitement, joy, and it's here and you love it, you're looking through it, oh man, like that's not the picture I would have chosen of me and my husband at that moment, but it's what you got. So
right. And you guys, this is truly, I mean, obviously we're focusing in the wedding album itself, but the wedding day, before the wedding, planning the meeting with you back there, I remember I was like, why are you asking so many questions, regarding like my family, to see if people got along? And I was like, why is this so detailed? And I understood, of course, the wedding day. I was like, oh, this is why exactly what John was asking these questions.
High level, we want to prevent any potential stress that could arise. This is not to toot my own horn. I've just been a groomsman 14 times.
Oh my God.
So that's really the only role where I've gotten to observe weddings, not as a photographer, but yet from the inside perspective of the wedding party. And I'm telling you, I've seen the photographer that literally just shows up with a camera to take pictures and is totally apathetic to the fact that there are family dynamics or things going on around them. And also probably the most dramatic example, I have a friend that had lost their dad, and a photographer that was rude and impatient. And I can empathize with it because I know what it feels like when the wedding is behind schedule and yet you've been tasked with getting a shot list accomplished. But when there's not a shot list, you don't have anything that you're working from, and you just expect that dad's going to be there, and a photographer blurts out, where is the father of the bride? And it is like the most ultimate foot and mouth moment where you're going, oh gosh, let's just move on to the next one. Like, we're going to pretend like that didn't even happen, and we're going to keep moving. There are many reasons outside of the most obvious and basic. We've had couples in here where older sister got married. We're doing our shot list and our planning meeting, and mother of the bride says, oh my gosh. And it's just like this light bulb moment. And you see it. I can't believe we didn't even get that at your sister's wedding. Or worse, they absolutely know what they didn't get. And we've had a mom in here before for one sister's wedding. Like, I didn't even get a picture with my daughter. Wow. And you go, how is that possible?
Right. So that's to say, the shot list is super detailed for a reason. I admire you so much, obviously, because of everything that you built. You're a marketing genius. Did you go to a school for marketing?
I might have. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's explains a lot. I'm like, everything has its why. I feel like with you and your company, and I feel like a lot of people and a lot of planners and other vendors look up to you and what you've built, because you truly study everything about the couples and their families and how they're going to act, and you anticipate everything that they may need, and even give a lot more unexpectedly, which it happens a lot with us. Every single step of the way, there was a surprise, I feel like, with your experience. That's why I cannot express enough like how grateful I am that you made us feel so special in our family. And not only you, but your team. I work specifically with Kai and Stephanie, and the way they were dressed, they look like special agents. And truly, how they acted to everyone. They knew who to joke with a little bit, like my siblings, they knew who to be more serious about. Like every single part of the experience was outstanding, truly.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, when we design it to be that intentional, it doesn't come without a ton of effort. And I have to acknowledge that there are so many people's strengths on our team that are so different from my own. Mm-hmm. I mean, as you can manage, you run a business, that there are people who are really stellar at administration, and then there are people who are really stellar at creativity and marketing. And people have joked with me, they're like, I am like a kite, and my wife Brittany is like the string. It just like pulls it down and grounds it a little bit. But there is absolutely no way. This is a self-serving compliment to my team of sorts. It's just, I know that I can't do it all by myself. It is by me being able to brag on our team that I know they are what make us so different. And I'm thankful for this opportunity right now to even just share on a more broad level what we do, because these are some of the hardest things to put into marketing. Right? Because what we market is we want to sell the dream, all the happy and joyful things, the reason why what we do is important. But you're never going to learn without experiencing. And one of my favorite quotes to use, even just the sales process, is like, sometimes it's unfortunate when expectations are realized only because they weren't met.
Oh, yeah.
Like how else can you learn what your expectations are if you've never done this before? You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And we try to get and beat those before we can.
When I was thinking about inquiring with you, I went to your website, and of course I read every single corner of it, right? So every single review and what they say about the experience, but it doesn't do it justice to the experience itself. That's why I really, really wanted to talk to you and for you to mention what you do differently, because I think people need to know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's funny. I've asked couples on the phone before, how did you hear about us? And obviously Instagram and social media is so critical to the planning process these days. But it is funny. I'll ask, like, so by any chance, have you been to our website yet? And I swear it's like a 50-50.
Oh, really?
On yes or no. That to me is fascinating. It's like, how are couples finding their vendors? How are they doing their research? What are they learning? And ultimately going back to, I might have studied marketing, but the reason why I love marketing, and ultimately it all comes down to connection.
Right.
And all that marketing is helping people know, like, and trust you. If you've created something that you're proud of and you want the world to know about it, then you absolutely should not be intimidated by or inhibited to share it, because I absolutely believe that what we have going on here is incredibly different and unique and not the norm. And in marketing it's just really a passion that people could have, again, shamelessly, selfishly, what I didn't. I look back at our entire wedding planning experience and the experience of being the groom. And if you get back stunning and beautiful photos from a really talented photographer, but they don't remind you of memories that are equally as beautiful, you're not going to like your pictures. I mean, ultimately, that is like bringing everything back to the why behind what we do. It is because Britt and I put our heads together after our own wedding. We're like, I never want our clients to feel like this.
Wow.
I can't stand the level of time, effort, energy, investment that we went to, and thinking, I don't necessarily think our expectations were way high or real crazy. It's just, we didn't feel taken care of.
Sorry.
So that's where it's like, when you say you had someone else and then reevaluated and reconsidered, I am thankful that we were able to step in.
Oh my God,
and that you didn't have that too late feeling. Because again, my personal experiences, I will never compete on artwork because it's so subjective. And if someone loves, and if it makes their heart sing, that there are timeless, classic, elegant images, that's our aesthetic. Now, there's going to be someone else out there who might be edgier or cooler or have more trend forward aesthetic. And there are going to be brides and couples out there that are more drawn and attracted to that. But I'll never compete with other photographers on whose work is better.
Wow.
Or maybe what other people might perceive as more beautiful or less beautiful. It's in the eye of the beholder. What we can compete with objectively, because it's very black and white. It's how well can you pick up the phone and call them any time during business hours and know that you're going to be receiving an answer and get taken care of. That has nothing to do with how beautiful our pictures are. That's everything. How are we going to make sure that for what you're spending on your wedding photography, you're purchasing more than artwork?
I didn't know that until I inquired. And you feel that exceptional customer service from your team and throughout every single step of the way. I mean, I don't even know how many people I talked to. I was actually thinking, driving here and thinking, well, for the wedding album itself was 2 people. Obviously, customer service, my photographer's you. So the list goes on and on.
Sure. Well, and there's some, again, I just tie it all back to you're going to get the work back. And what does it remind you of? And if it were only as simple as just a product and a transaction, we work in a very emotional industry. Like we are additionally selling experience, which equates to how people feel about what you do, way beyond just what it is they're buying. And bringing it back to your company and your business, I think we share an equal passion for helping people cherish the most meaningful moments in their lives, because those don't come around and they shouldn't come around every day. But when they do, there is a difference between pausing, stopping, and appreciating and commemorating it in some ways, so that on your mundane days or on your maybe your low days instead of your high days, like you can look back, or you're continually reminded as you go through your home, that was fill in the blank, amazing, the best day of my life up until then. I'm so happy we did that. Were you in business yet in 2015?
No.
I only wish that we had known
I know
about you to be able to have something as special as Brit's bouquet preserved in the form of artwork, because there aren't that many ways that you can preserve your wedding day in an artistic way.
We say there's 3 things from your wedding day that you're going to have and see every single day for the rest of your life. Obviously, your photos, number 1. Your wedding bands, which is what you, exchange the wedding day off, and you wear continuously every day of your life. And then your preserved bouquet. You get to see it every single day.
Absolutely. So, although we encounter this, the first family usually where we experience after the wedding, way deeper need and meaning of what we do usually comes when a grandparent is lost. But I would say that is also one of the most special pieces that we have in our home, is that from Brittany's grandmother's funeral, who we were incredibly close with, that we got to hold on to a little piece of that day. Like you preserved a single rose from that day that was there, and it is just as special in a very different, deeper way than anything else we have in our home from our wedding. But ultimately, beyond what's kept or not, these are just ways that celebrate the relationships that we have in our lives.
Well, thank you for saying that. That really does mean a lot. And it goes back to your philosophy. You said before that photography is about stewardship. Can you tell me more about why you think that way?
Oh, gosh. When we are capturing a wedding, it's, yes, obviously, for like the bride and groom are the stars of the show, right? There, if you think about a wedding like a production or like a performance, they are literally your leading lady and your leading man.
That's literally what Justin said. He's like, I feel like a movie star and we're the main people in the play.
But then you think about what it's for. And this kind of goes down really deep to fundamental values of what you're celebrating and who. When I say what we do is stewarding these memories, it is an element of this day is so important to a bride and a groom who, Lord willing, will have kids someday, Like there's a much bigger story happening than just 2 people coming together to join their lives. You also have generations present for grandparents and parents. And now that I have a daughter, it totally changes the way that we go about our work, because mother of the bride and father of the bride, while they might be in supporting roles, both literally and figuratively, it is they've probably been dreaming about this day way longer even than the bride or groom have. Absolutely. And so an element of just viewing what we do as stewardship comes in the form of capturing things for a family. I think just said really simply, there are so many people beyond just a bride and groom who care about what we do.
I love that. I talked to Delia Jeffcoat.
She'll be here tomorrow.
Oh, is she really?
Yeah.
Please tell her I say hi.
I will.
So she's on our podcast. It's going to be released on Mother's Day. And we specifically talk
That's so perfect.
Yes, we talk about the wedding day is truly for the mom, and I mean the families too. It really, really is. And I didn't understand that with my wedding until the day of, just because I really didn't plan much at all by design because of my business. I feel like the most interaction I had with a wedding vendor outside of Macy, of course, was with you. And I didn't understand that until the day of. So seeing my mom and how she was acting the whole day, I learned that it was her day too. And looking back, I feel like I wish I had known that before so I could have made it more special for her. However, your team truly made her feel so special. So thank you for doing that for her. It really does mean a lot. So what other advice do you have for couples planning their wedding aside of hiring you, of course? No, truly, I feel like everybody needs to hire you so they go through that experience. They must. But when it comes to photography itself,
when it comes to photography itself, there are a lot of different styles and types and approaches. And when you're hiring any wedding vendor in the wedding industry, you're talking to a bunch of different small business owners who run their businesses so differently from each other. And they each have, I feel like I'm like putting my business school hat on and just talking about this. But everyone has a USP for short, their unique selling proposition. And it's like, well, okay, what, according to that person, what is it to them that you're buying? Are you talking to a photographer that's selling artwork? Are you talking to a photographer that's selling experience? There are so many layers of the decision beyond just, I've given them 30 seconds of a scroll on Instagram and I like what I see. And I'd say I often hear photographers evaluated on their portfolio. Obviously, their pricing, because economic fit is important as well, and their personality. And I think, again, this is what I learned. Part of it is you can hire anyone whose personality you love. You would love to go get coffee with them. They're great people. You might even want to be friends with them. And you might really admire their talent. They could be exceptional at their craft, and pricing might totally fit within budget. And you get all three of those boxes checked. This is a great fit. You sign a contract. You pay a deposit. Then you start working with them. Then you figure out, oh, wait, maybe they're not as organized, or maybe I had expectations of what the experience of working with them would be like. And you won't realize they have bad customer service until it's too late.
Wow.
So that's why we hang our hat what we do. My other favorite analogy for wedding planning, it goes back to if the bride's found her gown yet. And when you buy your dress as the bride, it's the only decision in all of wedding planning that you make that is totally, completely, fully informed. It's the only thing that you try on. You see firsthand what it looks like on you. And you know that after you decide it, it's only going to get better because it's going to be tailored to you, literally fit to your body. And you made that one decision of saying yes in light of every other dress that you got to fully try on and glean from. So let's say you loved the way that one silhouette fit, or one fabric, or one designer, or neckline, or pick any of the variables that run through a bride's mind when they're trying on a dress. You don't get to do that with any other vendor. You don't get to hire 5 different photographers and then figure out who you liked best.
Right.
So from an advice standpoint, I'd also say, like, there are also thousands of vendors in every category across the United States, which is such a tricky balance because if we call someone for the first time, it's probably based off of a referral, hopefully of some kind. Like you are leaning on the advice of people who've done it before, gone before you, or from a planner or from a friend or a parent. But rarely is the discovery process with weddings totally blind or starting out from a total, like, I have no clue what I'm doing. I'm just going to start winging it on my own.
Yeah.
But if you think, like, to be curious to ask, would you remember, even just guess, how many different people did you call for, how many different photographers did you call in the interview process of like, hey, I might want to hire you?
Well, so my experience was a little bit different. As I said, I followed you for a long time, and I think I saw you at Oscar de la Renta or Carolina Herrera, one of those. You're one of the panelists there. And I remember that connection, right? Okay. So when I hired the first photographer, I thought my wedding was going to be really small, and it kind of got bigger and bigger when it
They tend to do that.
Yeah. So at that point was what you said earlier, like a 30 image scroll, not one of those that did a lot of research or anything like that. It was a fast decision in the beginning. I gave a deposit, didn't hear back from a very long time. And when I inquired with you, the interaction was there so much that I was like, oh my gosh, I've talked to your person so much more than I've talked to this person that I've hired for so many months. I didn't feel right. If I need to choose one vendor and one vendor right, it needs to be the photography.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All I was just curious of is in our world, it's like someone does a ton of due diligence, right? Like they even inquired with 20 different people and then talked to 10 different people and narrowed it down to 5. Or like if they start with even that big of a pool in their decision-making process, okay, great. You started with 20.
Wow.
Which 20 out of how many overall?
Right.
Right? Like it's like drawing cards from a deck randomly where you're like, how do you know whether you chose an ace of spades or whether you chose a 2 of clubs? Like there's the vetting process is something that is so interesting to me in the wedding industry.
To me was reading your reviews. Like reading hundreds possibly on your website. You have a lot. From the mother of the bride to the actual bride, like all of them. I read probably all of them, I wanted to see what people were saying.
Wow.
Because again, to me there was a big difference between the experience that I was having with my current photographer, that it was lacking.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to see what your people were saying. And so that to me was...
This is helpful, insightful.
Yeah, well, good.
There's a lot on it where I'm like, gosh, are we spinning our wheels too hard for things that aren't even being seen or paid attention to? Like, no small feat to the testimonials on the website. So it's encouraging to hear that they actually influenced or made.
And I really hope that people get to listen to this because they're truly listening to you talk from your side point as well, but my experience too. So I think that would be helpful too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Both of our services and the tangible end result product that we create are so akin to each other because it is preserving really special memories just in 2 totally different ways. And so I love that we've established and set up between us a way that our brides could remember their weddings even better than they otherwise would have had they not known or been introduced to both of us together.
So for those working with John, we have a giveaway coming up soon on Instagram. So make sure that you stay tuned for that. We cannot wait to work with you as well for serving your beautiful memories.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you.
Yeah.
To work with John Cain, you can go to his website, johncainphotography.com, or you can find him on Instagram at John Cain Photography as well. And if there's any doubt in your mind if John Cain Photography is the right photographer for your wedding, I honestly would encourage you to inquire. I really hope that you get to experience the royalty treatment that I experienced because I believe that every single bride deserves to feel that way, not only on wedding day, but throughout the entire wedding planning. Learn about all things wedding straight from the experts. Be sure to like and subscribe to Bridal Club.